There's a lot I wish I knew about the weapon augmentation system, but I couldn't find any tutorials online, so I ended up having to test them myself. Problem with that is that these augments are really rather expensive, so testing everything is quite demanding. I ended up having to ask a bunch of friends to help me with these resources because it's a lot. So I thought, hey, might as well share what I found with people so they don't have to do the same thing I did. Okay, really quickly, in case you don't know how the weapon augmentation process works, each of these augments has a task associated with it. When you complete this task, you go to one of these stations, you go to a weapon, and then you will be able to unlock it here if it wasn't unlocked, and then each weapon has either one slot or two, and then you can put an augment from each side into that slot if it's available. The lower stuff only has one slot, but it's not a good idea to augment those weapons either way. Okay, now let's talk a bit about the augments themselves. I'm gonna take them one by one and explain what needs to be explained. First of all, Titan Trooper. Deal more damage when hitting Harvester, tanks, wolves, firebirds, and reapers. This is a decent augment. Problem with it is that it's only 20%, and there are stronger augments which have other criteria in order to proc, but I feel like the other ones deal enough damage and the criteria are easy enough to meet to make this one not exactly useful. I would advise against using this one. Next one, Unstoppable Shell. Your bullets can pierce through machines and walls, but damage dealt is reduced after each penetration. When it's gold, rank 3, the minus is 0%, so this deals full damage regardless of how much it pierces. You can shoot through mountains and rocks and stuff, so it's great. And this is essentially an augment that invalidates the experimental PvG. These augments can only go on the 1 through 5 crown. You cannot put them on experimental weapons. This one essentially makes the experimental PvG kind of pointless, because this does just about everything that one does and more. Because the experimental PvG cannot shoot through walls, it can only shoot through machines. This one can also shoot through walls. And while the experimental has a bit more damage to armor, it's not often that you really need to deal with that much armor. So overall, I think that this is just better. You should just have this instead of the experimental. But what do I know? Structure Destructor. Deal more damage to structures. This is really good on generally explosive weapons that you're gonna use against enemy bases. Other than that, it's not really useful, but that alone is a good reason to equip it on your rocket launcher, grenade launcher, stuff like that. I'm really a fan of this one. I have it on my rocket launcher. It's quite a good augment if you do a lot of base assaults. If you don't do base assaults, this is kind of pointless, but I feel like it's quite a good augment. Machine Disarmor. Deal more damage when hitting firearms mounted on machines. This is quite good. It's some of the highest extra damage you're gonna find against enemy machines. Destructor is only against structures, so this is the strongest other extra damage you're gonna get. But only being able to proc that against weapons means that once the weapons are down, you're gonna have to switch to one of the other ones that deals extra damage to components or to armor or to something. So the other one that deals extra damage to components deals 40%, but it works on all of the components including the weapons, because I have tested that. So do you really want a weapon augmented specifically for weapons instead of just one that is good for components? It's your call, really. It's interesting if you're gonna have a really maxed out build for fighting the Reaper. I saw people really try their best to have very, very min-max builds for reefer fights. So for that, this is a consideration. I feel like with unstoppable shells might be even better for that, because you can just sit behind cover and just shoot at the Reaper, and you're gonna kill it eventually. It's much easier to do that than to deal with extra damage. Unstoppable shells doesn't deal extra damage if you're just gonna hit one component at a time, like when you're shooting the weapons. But I feel like this, for me, it's better to use unstoppable shell than extra damage to anything, be it guns or components. But it's your call. Do you want a specialized weapon for weapons only? I generally would advise against it, but if you have the resources, it's not a bad augment. It's just expensive and you have to fill up another weapon slot, or it's up to you. Trick Shot Master has more accuracy and deal more damage when fired while you are in the air. That in the air part is kind of a problem. You can jump, so you can proc it easily that way, but I don't know, extra 40% is quite good. It's as much as you're gonna get from some of the other better augments. The extra accuracy isn't really all that great. If it was less recoil, then it might be a consideration. Only shotguns and weapons and melee weapons can use this augment. So, you know, shotguns in general aren't a great weapon. The experimental pump action is good to stagger lock the Reaper, but it doesn't really deal enough damage given how close you have to be to enemy and how lengthy the reload is. So I just don't feel like this is a good augment at all. Shotguns aren't good. This is not gonna change that, so yeah, you might as well just skip this one. It's uranium infused. When destroying a component, temporarily overload the machine threat identification circuits. This essentially does what the remote hacking skill does. This one lasts for a lot longer, 50 seconds, 120 seconds if it's level 2. However, this has a chance of proccing, from what I remember, so this is nowhere near as reliable. The augment works when you break a component, but if you're wondering what exactly does that mean, well, this skill does essentially the same thing, not the hacker specialization. This one makes machines fight other machines, and the augment kinda does that, but not really. If there are machines nearby, it's gonna shoot wildly, but it's not really gonna fight the other machines. Things like tanks, however, it's gonna make essentially harmless. They're not gonna shoot at anything. It's one of my most used augments so far. There is an EMP one, which is occasionally better, but generally speaking, this is one of the best augments available at the moment. I really highly recommend this one. Scorching. Deal more damage when hitting component, but less when hitting anything else. This is the one I was talking about earlier. It only gives 40% extra damage to components specifically. At rank 3, it no longer deals any damage to anything else, which, yes, I can see how that is a problem, but the majority of your damage is gonna come from damaging components either way, so you should be shooting at components, so not dealing damage to anything else is not exactly a huge problem. On the other hand, it's only 40%, while that one against weapons deals 50, so, you know, generally speaking, this is a great augment. Explosive weapons cannot use this augment, which is, you know, kind of whatever, really. Explosive weapons aren't really good against machines either way. They're good for structures, but it's about it, so I don't feel like that's a problem. But in terms of damaging augments, this is probably the best one available. Adhesive rounds. Hitting a machine slows it down, hitting it again refreshes the duration. This is a decent skill. It's not amazing, but in a squad this would be really useful. Like if you have somebody EMPing the machines with the augment for that while you slow them down. That does slightly increase the duration of the EMP. Not quite. It slows down the animation of powering down and powering up, and that kind of extends the EMP duration. It's also fairly good against things like hunters or runners, which is something you're gonna be dealing with a fair bit. This or the EMP one are generally my favorite against specifically hunters and runners. There is one that deals extra damage specifically to runners, but there isn't one for hunters. There is the one that deals extra damage against components, but a lot of the hits against hunters are going to be in general in their body, so not any component specifically. So stuff like slowing them down or EMPing them is going to be fairly useful when you deal with crowds or large numbers of machines. I do feel like this is one good augment, especially if you're fighting against a firebird. I hate those things, especially if it's a rival. Those things are so tanky and so hard to hit. It's a fairly good one if you're looking for a bit of crowd control. If you're in a squad especially, this is gonna shine, but I can also see why you would go for one of the other ones like the uranium infused or the EMP one. Health stealing. It's underwhelming at best. The problem with this one is it just doesn't heal you all that much. I tried it on the AI, I tried it on the KVM59, I tried it on the PVG, I tried it on rocket launchers. It's not something that you can be like, oh, I'm low, let me switch to a weapon so I can heal myself. This is not gonna be replacing medkits. It's a nice bonus, I guess, but killing a runner, for example, is gonna give you like 2-3 points of HP. Killing a hunter is gonna give you like 10. If you put it on the PVG, it's gonna give you like 3 points of HP per hit. Like, it's kind of there. On the rocket launcher, the M49, it gives you like 10 HP per hit. If there's a big crowd that you're fighting and shooting in the middle, it's gonna heal you, but by a fair bit, maybe, if you're lucky. But overall, this is just not something you can rely on. If you're missing like 10-20 HP points and there's still a harvester that's no longer has any weapons, and you can hit that to heal yourself up and save up a bad kit or two, then it does help in that way, but it's underwhelming. I feel like this should really be buffed. Healing is such a big part of Generation Zero. You need hundreds and hundreds of medkits. You need 75. You need to use 750 medkits just to unlock this one. So it's not going to replace them. It's a nice bonus. I wish this was better, but as it is now, I can't really recommend it. It's kind of whatever. Sharpshooter deals more damage hitting components at long range, but less damage at close range. Now, melee weapons and explosive weapons cannot use this augmentation. As I was talking about, when I first read this one, I thought that either one of these are gonna be active at any time. If you go below a certain range, it's gonna kick in the negative. If you're above that range, it's gonna be the positive. It doesn't give you any numbers, but I did test it, and the way it actually works is that if you are within 25 meters of a machine, it's gonna give you the negative damage. If you are between 25 and 75 meters, the augment is gonna do nothing. The weapon is gonna deal regular damage. If you are above 75 meters, then you're gonna get 40% extra damage. Now, 75 meters is not hard to achieve. Like, it's not an unreasonable distance. It's not like, oh, keep the machine 200 meters away. That is a real problem. 75, it's okay, and the fact that you only get a negative if you're within 25 meters, that's great. But I feel like the augment that gives you extra damage on components is gonna be better than this one, because while 75 meters is not unachievable, often enough it's not gonna be up to you. If you're fighting a tank, it might just rush you and get close to you, and you can't really stop it unless there's either a building or some terrain to take advantage of, or if you EMP it from afar, then you can take full advantage of this. But I feel like the one that gives extra damage against components is just gonna be easier to proc and more reliable than this one. So I really don't recommend this one. Small Fry. Deal more damage when hitting runners, sticks and lynxes. Now, this would be cool if it had hunters as well. It does not. There's no augment that gives extra damage to hunters specifically. So, ticks, extra damage to ticks is just whatever, really. Like, 1 or 2 shots and they're gonna die either way. Extra damage doesn't really help. Runners, yes, it's good to have like 50% extra damage against runners and lynxes, but the fact that it doesn't work against hunters means that there's very few situations where you are gonna be better off with this one instead of one of the other ones. So I personally can't recommend Small Fryer. A friend of mine said that he put it on a grenade launcher, and it can do short work of big packs of runners, but I personally tend to not really run into big packs of runners so that often, and the other ones just give 40% instead of these 50, so I would go for one of the other ones, generally speaking. If you feel like you often run into large packs of runners, then maybe it's a consideration. Other than that, it's prone specialization. You can shoot more accurately and with less recoil while prone. Recoil reduction 90%, extra accuracy 75%. Melee weapons cannot use in augmentation. Again, extra accuracy is surprisingly meaningless. It just doesn't do a whole lot. Recoil reduction is great, but overall I would just rather go for one of the other ones. And the fact that this only works when you are prone, in my eyes, it's a really big problem. If it was when crouched, then yes, that's something you can do quite easily, but there's a lot of times when you can't really lay it down because you're not going to be able to shoot the machines because of the terrain. So it's overall not ideal. And the 90% recoil reduction is also, it's nice, but it's not really game changing. On something like the KVM or the AI-76, maybe, but it's not really gonna, this is not gonna help at all the PVG, if you're wondering, by the way, because if you spam fire as fast as you can, this is as fast as it would go, and as you can see, recoil is essentially non-existent because it goes back automatically to where it started. Something worth mentioning is that if you move it around a bit, sometimes, as you can see here, it bugs out and doesn't come back all the way. So this is why extra recoil is a problem, but recoil reduction is surprisingly useless for the PVG. Also, by the way, I swear to God that the 5 crown PVGs fire faster than the experimentals. Some people seem to disagree with me. In my experience, the 5 crown fire faster, whatever. Either way, point is that recoil reduction is kind of whatever. It's kind of useless on the PVG. It's useful on some of the machine guns, but it's just, I would rather have the damage or the EMP or the half other augmentation that we have available. So yeah, this is a pass for me. EMP detonation. When destroying a component, it has a chance to trigger an electromagnetic pulse, disabling the machine temporarily. This will make it sit in place. If you use uranium infused, the machine is gonna move around a bit, so it is a bit harder to hit it, but it's gonna pacify it. This is gonna stun lock completely, a bit of a problem with this. You can't trigger a second electromagnetic pulse until the first one is fully finished, because the machine has a power down animation, a power up animation, and until the power up animation is fully completed, you cannot proc another one. Also, sometimes, for example, when the machine is charging a tank, if a tank is charging you sometimes, or if it's stomping you, or if it does a few animations, the EMP is also not gonna proc. So this is less reliable, but against stuff like hunters, this is quite useful, because you can again just shoot at the tick pod behind the hunter, and this is gonna stun lock it. It's gonna make it far easier to take out its two guns, which will destroy it fairly quickly. I really like this on the KVM-59 especially. It's generally good, and it's not a downgrade, it's a side grade to Uranium Enhanced. I generally find myself using Uranium Enhanced more, but there are situations when this one is also a consideration and quite good and useful. Acidic. Deal much more damage to armor, but less when hitting anything else. As I was saying about the experimental PvG, you're not gonna run into a whole lot of armor. The tanks have some armor in front of their knees that's actually in the way. Harvesters have some armor on their legs, but you generally don't shoot at their legs because it's gonna die before you get to them, because you shoot fire at the main body. So I really don't recommend. I didn't even bother switching to it, because why would you, right? Components is where the damage is at. Ignore this one, it's just whatever, really. Now, going into the second row of this, or the second column, these are supposed to be support, so no damage to be found here, but there are still some good and interesting augmentations here to be found. For example, magazine size. Increase the magazine size of the weapon, but increases recoil. Oversized magazine. The extra recoil, it can be a problem. I've tried it on the AK thing, and I don't really like it. It's not unmanageable. It's more than I'm willing to put up with in a fight. So on the KVM-59 it's fine, it works just fine on that one, but on the AI I feel like it's too much. And again, on the PVG it's more so annoying than a problem. I don't know where that AK is. I have it somewhere. It's probably on one of my other guys. Either way, I do recommend extended magazine on the KVM-59. I run two of them. Even before this update, I was running with an experimental KVM-59 and a regular KVM-59 for targets that were really close. So yeah, now I just around two of these. This I looted from somewhere and I can't fit it in the plunder at the moment. I run with two 59s, two PVGs, one with uranium, the other with unstoppable, and M49. This is what I run with. I do highly recommend this on the KVMs, on most of the machine guns probably. Some people are gonna find that it's fine on the AI-76 as well. I don't like it. You might find that it's manageable. If it's manageable, it's more than I'm willing to put up. Either way, scope scout marks machines when viewing them through a scope. At 3 seconds when it's maxed. Only weapons that can have a scope attached can use this augmentation. Really importantly, scope includes red dots. So you can have it on a KVM, on an AI-76, something that only has a red dot. And it's not going to be, unless you have unstoppable or the skills that give you extra damage for marked machines. If you don't have one of those is not really gonna be useful to mark machines. If somebody in your squad has either one of those, then it might be nice for you to run this. And something good about this is that the marking mechanic is really forgiving. Like it's fairly easy to mark machines. You only need them in your field of view, essentially, to mark them, and you might be only seeing the tiniest bit of the machine, and it's still gonna mark it. It's really nice that it's so forgiving, given that it's only 3 seconds. But it's a really useful one. It's a bit of a problem if you full cheese and you sit inside of a barn. But even then, you're probably gonna use PVG with object penetration. The reason why you might want this over regular object penetration is that object penetration has a limit. Like, if the machine is more than, I don't know, like 50 meters away from you, you're not gonna be able to see it through that thing. If you mark it, you can see it at essentially any distance. So it's still a nice thing to have, especially on something like a PVG with Unstoppable, because oversized magazine I find it to be annoying. So I usually run my Unstoppable PVG with a Scout. It's a really great combination. Stabilization significantly reduces recoil but reduces damage dealt. Recoil reduction 90%, damage reduction 10%. I'm not taking this one. If either oversized magazine was a primary or this one was a primary to counterbalance it, then maybe. But with things as they are, while 90% recoil reduction is interesting, you can have essentially a razor beam KVM. The 10% damage reduction is... yeah, I would rather avoid this one. Sound muffling. Reduces the sound you make while carrying this weapon. I don't see the point of this. I know some people that say that Generation Zero is a stealth game. I don't see it. I find this one quite useless. Hit and run reduces the stamina cost of sprinting. Stamina cost reduction 40% max. Now, this is really great, especially on something like a rocket launcher that just doesn't have a good selection of secondary support augmentation. So I usually switch to my rocket launcher that has this augment when I have to cover great distances and I don't have a bike nearby. Something important to point out is that you have to run a lot in order to unlock this one. I still haven't. I have it ranked 2 out of 3. And important to point out is that you see how when you run you have that white bar that's getting consumed. The task only tracks when you have that fast sprint. After the stamina is gone, you can still run but slower, and this slower jog does not count towards towards unlocking that augmentation. So if you're like me and you're still trying to unlock it, it's a good thing to keep in mind. One of these days I'm gonna have it unlocked. Good lord. Okay, slow and steady. Increase accuracy but reduces movement speed. This is horrible. First of all, it gives accuracy, which is essentially useless. But secondly, movement speed decrease. This is horrible. You need to move a lot in this game. Melee weapons cannot use this augmentation. It's accuracy, of course, they can't. I don't use this. Getting slowed down is a real problem in this game, so avoid this one, especially given that extra accuracy is pointless. Skill spotter. Marks machine when destroying a component. This is a consideration. If you want to full cheese a Reaper or something and you want to hide in a barn and you want to be able to still mark the machine somehow, other than that, it's not horrible, it's just not really great. The 30 seconds is really generous, but it's just generally not useful. There's not a lot of machines that you can be actively fighting that are gonna survive for more than 30 seconds. Some rivals, yes, the Reaper especially. Other than that, it's not really great. And for most of the times when I want an augment that can spot enemies, I would rather have the other one that I just need to look at them through a scope. Quick Learner increases XP earned from destroying or escaping machines. Now, I heard some people be a bit confused, like why would you want this after you're past not maximum level, the old maximum level, like 30 something, 32 I think, when you get all of your skill points, because these do max out, you don't get more after a center point. But what you do get for leveling up is uranium. You get like 5 uranium whenever you level up. So as you can see, this character of mine has 88 levels, which means that I got a good few hundred uranium from just passively leveling up. So it's a consideration to have a quick learner on a gun that you know you're going to be finishing off a lot of machines with, especially if you don't feel like any of the other of these support augmentation help you much. Then this is really a consideration. If you really need uranium, I kind of don't need any more uranium, so it's meh. If they revamp the skill system and leveling up more will actually help me more, then maybe, perhaps. Until then, it helps me show off a bit because, oh, look at me, I have such a high level. But other than that, it's a consideration depending on what you're doing, but for me it doesn't fit. So it's up to you. I'm just trying to give you as much information so that you can make a educated decision for yourself. I'm not trying to tell you what to use. Crouching trigger. No, tiger. I'm dyslexic, sorry. Increase your accuracy when crouching. Again, accuracy, useless. Melee weapons cannot use augmentations. Thank you, generation. Of all the things that you could be saying, you say this. You don't give me the ranges for that other augmentation, but you tell me, oh, melee weapons cannot get extra accuracy. Thanks, Generation 0. Hip shooter. Increases accuracy and reduces recoil when shooting without aiming down sights. I don't really see a reason to get this one at all. Recoil reduction is a consideration. But if you're not gonna aim down south, then it's really a problem. Your spread is gonna be pretty huge. I don't see a use for this. Perhaps with shotguns, melee weapons cannot use an augmentation. Perhaps with shotguns, perhaps with the AI-76. Even then, I did hip fire that quite a bit with the extended magazine, but you can have an extended magazine and this augmentation at the same time, so I don't really see the point to this one. Flurry of Blows reduces the stamina cost of attacking. Only melee weapons can use an augmentation. Thank you, Generation 0. It's one of the few ones from here that will actually help a melee, so it doesn't have much competition. On the other hand, I don't use melees almost at all at this point. If you do use melees, then I guess there's not much else to use from here, so might as well. Maybe the stamina one for running, but other than that, there's just not a whole lot. So yeah, this is probably a good one, but melee weapons are bad, so therefore this is a bad one. Power attack speeds up the rate at which you can charge up a charge attack. Increases by 100. Only melee weapons can use the augmentation. It's one of the few that you get. I don't remember much how melee weapons worked. From what I remember, the experimental sledgehammer did benefit a lot from fast charge up. Other than that, the baseball bat is not really gonna benefit much from this, so Flurry of Blows probably goes better with that one. But again, melee weapons are kind of whatever, so therefore this is kind of whatever. Okay, these are all of these explained. If you're wondering what my loadout is, I have a grenade launcher with structured damage and hit and run. I do have to max it out eventually, so I usually finish up a fight, then I switch to my rocket launcher so I can sprint out to the next fight. Then I have my main PVG, which has uranium infused, and I think this is the only augmentation I have on this one. I was planning to put the experience one on. I don't like the extended magazine because of the recoil, because again, while the recoil goes down, if it bugs out, you might end up with a lot of recoil, so I don't want to deal with that. Then I have a KVM with adhesive rounds and extended magazine. Then I have one with healing. I'll probably switch back to the EMP one. I like that one better. And I have an unstoppable PVG with Scope Scout. I hope this helped. It's a long ass fucking video from what I can see. It's gonna take forever to upload, but whatever. I hope it helped. If you have any questions, do share. If there's anything that you still think needs testing, tell me. I might. Other than that, happy hunting.